again, as we were kind of like cursed with only border games and Oregon games last week, and we're going to start out again with this.
A lot of border this week. Just coming off an Oregon match that was hot off the presses, fresh between SSG and M80. Starting off here on border, of course, we have the Dokkaebi ban to start out. Again, maybe not as common to say a hard breach ban, but definitely an operator that when left up is usually always brought by the attack, and getting her off the board will definitely help Soniqs on their defenses feel a little bit more secure. And the Dokkaebi Lion combo as well. We actually saw M80 run this duo on border earlier in the day to great effect. So for that reason, and well, for many of the other reasons, in that both these operators are some of the most annoying to play against in the game, that duo being taken off the board makes sense.
Things are going to make sense as we move back over to the defensive side as well. Zami still has quite a bit of play potential, especially inside of areas like CCTV on this map. She has quite a bit of independence that comes with that play potential, so she's a very dangerous operator to be left in the pool currently alongside quite a few others like this one here. Solus, very much there's a lot of the same things as we see from a Zami. Obviously, great capability to just knock out drones, and the earlier great capability to avoid drones going later into it. Just not an operator you want roaming around the map to potentially surprise you suddenly while your attack is trying to set things up. So that'll be the final ban there as we move into round one.
Yeah, and Jesse's talked about before about how Canadian loves playing Solus. It's one of his most played operators on the defense, but for border in particular, this is a map that Solus is especially strong on, because not only can she deny drones in the early round of the prep phase like Solus can on any map, but border has a lot of soft floors, and if you're saying trying to plant on a site like Armory, whether it be over inside of Armory on the main wall inside of default or inside of Archives that we're looking at right now, a Solus can sneak down below and deny that plant, which is another very useful, powerful feature of that operator. So getting her off the board, even though Soniqs are not starting off on the attack, that will make going for plants in either of these bomb sites easier for whoever ends up being on the attack.
And so taking a look at that specific aspect of the setup here, we're going to see what exactly is being brought to the table by both teams. Nothing hugely surprising as far as I'm concerned for the defensive end of it, and it very much echoes so far over to the attack. We already get that OSA pick, though, so there's a lot of late round execute play potential that will come from that. Keep your eyes on Canadian, as he's very much going to be the deciding member that moves the play forward into the site and potentially sails it down the river a little bit early as well.
And when we see that OSA as well, if it is an Armory attack, sometimes we'll also see that OSA go east stairs early to acquire early pressure there and then pick up one of those shields, and then, as you said, go in for the execute over inside of Archives in the late round. That was sort of when border got reintroduced into the pool alongside OSA. That was one of the main executes that we saw almost a year ago exactly, and it's still a very, very solid execute and a very solid option for the attack on this bomb site a year later as well. Pay attention to Citizen's position downstairs. If Solus were not banned, I imagine this is the very spot she would be playing, but of course Solus is banned, and Citizen will instead pick up the Mozzie, who can deny that intel, but also has a C4 to deny the plant if DarkZero end up going for that Archives play. Of course, it's still a little too early to call where DarkZero are attacking from, though we do see quite a bit of presence, at least bias towards that east side. Whether or not DarkZero only looking to acquire initial control, then rotate later on, or if this is where they're planning on their execute to come from, still 2 minutes to decide that.
Things moving quite slowly to start out the first round for DarkZero, but that's not really going to be too much of a surprise for any major fans of DarkZero out there. This is how they tend to play things. A lot of emphasis on double, if not triple, checking everything with their drones before making a real first move forward here to make sure that when they are ready to move forward, it is pretty much a perfect execute every time they move themselves into it. Soniqs, meanwhile, are sitting back patiently waiting for that first play to work their way through. However, Panba might be starting the party a little bit early here. Citizen really catch it in time, spots the drone behind him, and Panba, of course, gets the comm out for that. He'll hear the bullet as well, so he'll halt himself just on the inside of Tellers here, trying to see if he can get the rotate timing in against Citizen. But right now, it's not going to align as Citizen backs up deeper into vents.
Yeah, this is a big indication that DarkZero are aiming for an execute inside of Archives and from East Stairs. Panbazoo isn't pushing aggressively down below. He's just holding this position to make sure that if maybe somebody like Citizen, who we heard earlier, goes for the C4, he can manage to take him down. He's remaining undetected, so when DarkZero end up going for that push, either Panbazoo will get a kill, or DarkZero will just rotate somewhere else, or they'll be able to actually get a bomb down inside of Archives. Still a minute left, though, and DarkZero are still sort of scrambling for some solid control. They've made some inroads in CCTV, but now Panbazoo's been taken down. If they do want to go for an east side take, it's done for. Instead, they're all basing this around Armory.
So, just about 45 seconds left to go. DarkZero finally begin to get some access onto the interior portion of the site. Canadian, thankfully, able to get out of the way of the largest amount of damage that would have come from that Nitro Cell there. Keeps himself at pretty much full HP, but still trying to get this interior Osa shield set up. Gavini with the counter for the rotate into small office, but not going to be able to necessarily capture the full kill against the Soniqs. There's still 2 up here. We've only got 25 seconds to go. Canadian finally hits the ground running, though, and he's not going to be the only one that finds it. 2 more kills go onto the board for the attack. Make that 3 with 1 extra response coming in from Rex and Geo in the 1v2. Not going to be able to sustain, so DarkZero controls the first round.
Really well played 3v5 by DZ right there. I initially thought they were going for that East Stairs take because of the presence of the Osa and because of how much we were focusing on Panbazoo down below, but instead, all they really were going for is CCTV control, and even on border, that is sometimes a little bit of a rarity to just go for a very minimal take. They took the CCTV control, which, to be fair, was left ripe for the taking by Soniqs. Not a lot of presence over in that area, so they take control of it and then just go for an armory wall, and you saw the problems that can have as Soniqs were able to move up very quickly to a 5v3 in the picks. But what DZ are very good at is playing structured, playing their positions, and that's what they did perfectly. As SQ were starting to rotate and starting to take fights, the 3 remaining members from DarkZero remain stalwart in their positions, remain stalwart in holding their angles, and really showcased quite well all you need to do sometimes to win an attack. If you've set up your positions, don't get too aggressive, use the time you have left, and wait for the enemy to peek you, and once you get that advantage, then you can start pressing in.
Soniqs will not go for the retry on the second floor hold. We will see a lot of similarities in their overall setup because we're just moving 1 story down vent site for round number 2 here. Soniqs will be changing up quite a few aspects of their operator selection, specifically the Doc coming in for Geo to give him a little bit more independence and obviously give their own players a bit more capability to reboost in the mid-round should they take some damage on those extensions. Away from that, though, a lot of the same elements being deployed, but Grix are also going to add those ever so important mirror windows into the fold as well.
Yeah, mirror, of course, not being banned, no longer part of that triad, that Solus, Valkyrie, and a zombie, but still a very powerful operator in Soniqs, clearly wanting to make mirror a focal point of their defenses, at least in the first 2 rounds so far. It being event defense as well, and it being border in general, Soniqs will move all the way up to the top floor and try and hold a large portion of the map, with Citizen just lurking a little bit downstairs inside a passport, not only to check to see if DarkZero rotate that way, but also if they don't push that way, give them a spot to flank up through later on by likely climbing through that CCTV hatch. DarkZero have a lot of options they could go with, but given that CCTV is not being too strongly held by Soniqs once again, that's likely where they're going to focus for the early part of the round.
The Brava in this one as well for DarkZero, so some capability to steal away. Yeah, there's not really anything hyper crucial they're going to be able to actually take away from the defense this time. So more just eliminating pieces of utility more than anything else, most notably those mute jammers are all it's really going to be able to find here. Otherwise, the utility for the attack should be set up quite well to work things out here. But the first bit of damage going to be taken by Citizen. He's caught running around just below the hatchwork and is ultimately caught by Achieved on the full clear, giving DZ the opening kill this time.
Yeah, they had a drone on him that whole time. Excellent drone work by DarkZero. Catch Citizen down below. And if they want to take Passport now, there was only 1 real player lurking around that area. They might face pressure from Gunner, who could swing out from the site, but 3 of the 4 remaining defenders are all on that top floor. So CCTV and Passport are now in the hands of the attack if they want to take it. And they know that the majority of the defense is now on this top floor. I'm curious if we'll see maybe Panbazoo during the mid-round with the call, once they figure out that so many attackers are on this top floor, could creep in down below, try and take the fight with Gunner, and then acquire control of the site down below. But at least for right now, Achieved is barreling on in, and the defenders will retreat soon afterwards.
Rexon gets the first response kill to even us back out into a 4v4. Rest of DarkZero, not seeing a whole lot of response coming in from them just yet, and they're split up as well, so Geo's going to continue to harass out all of the attack here. NJR finds 1 exchange, is able to capture Grixert before he can go too crazy here and get another kill, but that's only, once again, evened us back up down to the 3-all scoreline for each team here now. This is brought back down to that overall 3v3. NJR, Canadian, as well as Panba are all that remains with less than a minute left to get themselves on the site now. Geo still obviously full HP on the dock there, more than ready to fend off the next bit of aggression.
More than ready, though. Soniqs are out of C4s. They've all rotated back downstairs, and DarkZero are taking the time to get this, or get as much vertical control as they can, as they're only left with the breach charges instead of Achieved skeleton key. So the more time they spend up here, the less time they'll have to execute onto the site. There's one still playing aggressively inside a Passport, but excellent reaction by Panbazoo. Gunner's aggression does not pay off.
Coming down to the final 20 seconds now. Those last 2 defenders continuing to remain completely frozen in their current positions. No change-ups to it at all. As we continue to see Canadian look for an opportunity to plant, he'll get off that plant and find a frag instead. Geo now goes down. Rexen, all that remains. Canadian thankfully has enough time to get him onto the plant, but here's Rexen from up on top. They don't have eyes on him, and Canadian gets dropped. Oh, but the trade comes in from NJR out of absolutely nowhere, and DZ will just barely save the round with a second left to find that kill.
That's DarkZero's highest rated player, and at least going into the day, the highest rated player in the North America League, ladies and gentlemen, and it is for rounds like that that he has earned that distinction. Less than 1 second left on the clock. Rexen completely reestablishing vertical control, and what does NJR do? He does not sit idly by. He sprints up metal stairs, sprays through the wall, and aided by a little bit of luck, wins the second round in a row for DarkZero. Very impressive by NJR. Also very impressive for DarkZero. Once again, when they were going in for that control, they were put in a man disadvantage, similar to round number 1, and they were still able to claw it back. They almost ended up losing the round, save for NJR's miraculous rotate. But another example of DarkZero being put down in a man disadvantage, but then with patience and structure and team play, clawing it back, and then, well, at least getting in for a plant, but then securing it thanks to their teammate.
Bigger change-up to the overall lineup now going to start to surface for the Soniqs as they make a more dramatic shift in terms of the portion of the map. They're going to be looking to control. It's over to Tellers now for round number 3 here. And a few more significant change-ups going to come to their defensive lineup with that switch of the site. Gunner now on the Echo as well, adding those drones into play that could trip up DarkZero in these sub-15-second executes that they've been so keen on going for, alongside a few other minor changes as well, such as the Electric Claws being added for Geo to kind of reinforce things upstairs and inside of the site a bit too.
Not only the introduction of the Yokais for Intel, but those black eye cameras as well, because with Solus and Azami off the board, Valkyrie is the one left up. So you not only have those mobile Yokais, but those difficult to spot black eye cameras as well. Citizen so far on border, and for Soniqs as well in the past few months. He's been the main lurker on this defense, liking to play off the site alongside players like Rexen to loosely hold some control, whether it be for the early round or all the way to the late, but definitely to deny some intel for DarkZero. I thought there might have been oh yeah, there might be one clutch drone already gone very quickly within 45 seconds. So excellent nab by the Soniqs to deny NJR from taking any of their utility later on. Of course, one thing they might be looking for, any of these electronics inside of office, the main bastion for Soniqs defense right now could be a Yokai drone, could something be as simple as a Cade charge to allow DarkZero to then open up the wall. There are quite a few electronics that DarkZero are looking to nab, as they are all very much, or at least NJR is, very much keen on taking this east side control.
Slow built as usual, though, coming in from the attack so far. We need to establish positioning, more importantly, the confidence to take further positioning before we see any real active play come out from our attackers at this stage of the round here. Soniqs, of course, making themselves quite at home over by the fountain as well as office areas, waiting for that first bit of aggression to come forward, and then all the flanks established with that. Still being overwatched quite nicely by the defense, such as over here towards East Main, where we've had that player take out quite a few drones already. Already half the count overall for DarkZero has been used up, as there's 6 down, 4 drones still to be used, though, with a little over a minute to go. Both the Bravas, from the looks of things, have also already been taken care of there, so NJR has no additional utility to throw at the enemy at this point.
DZ might instead be going for a half clear. We've seen Gavini creep into the courtyard area. Their 2 kills now fly, each going to the team apiece. Pambazu not having a lot of success on this lurk with the Nooks so far, but DZ have still acquired a lot of the control they need. They've not taken control of office, which is a big concern. If Soniqs are able to still rotate down the bathroom hatch, they can try and play trades and deny the plant. As DarkZero are not looking to plant inside a bathroom, they very much want to move in through courtyard and go to Tellers, but if these avenues of rotation are still open for Soniqs, they can still play trades and still potentially deny the plant, but NJR might have the angle that DarkZero need.
So with 35 seconds left to execute into this one, DarkZero, just like the previous 2 rounds, quickly running out of not only manpower, but timing to try and make this one work out for themselves here. Gunner and the rest of the Soniqs more than ready for the challenge at the usual angles. That's an easy pickup for Gunner. Down goes Canadian. A few of the members of the team looking to try and wrap back in, find the trade against the Echo or some other form of entry so that they can move in and brute force Tellers. Gavini will be the first player to step in. NJR will be found out through soft paneling, though, and he'll go down. Not fully eliminated just yet, but achieved. Far too busy overwatching the plant to actually be able to assist with this. Geo, in the meanwhile, gets the finisher off onto NJR, and Grixer establishes the crossfire to take care of Achieve. Gavini now left alone here, not even going to be able to confirm the plant either, as the Soniqs ultimately win the round on the timer.
Losing Panbazoo on that lurk definitely cost DarkZero in that round, because so far on Border through these 3 rounds, DarkZero have really only tried to acquire the minimum amount of map control they need. Only get CCTV, then push into Armory in round number 1. Round number 2, only acquire maybe some of that vertical control, clear out the site, but then immediately drop back down and try not to push anything too far outside of Armory before you move down to the site. In that round as well, they don't try to take full office control, instead just have NJR watch an angle and then try to move in through courtyard. But Panbazoo ends up dying. I imagine that's the player DarkZero wanted to deal with Gunnar, who was watching that long angle inside of vents, but because they weren't able to take down Citizen like they were in round number 2, he's able to hold control of Passport and then kill Panbazoo when he goes for that lurk, and then Gunnar is alive holding that long angle that denies the very avenue that DarkZero wanted to take going into the site. And that's the game you play when you go for such a minimal take. If everything doesn't go perfectly according to plan, you're leaving a lot for the defense to handle.
One more rotation set here on the defensive side for the Soniqs as they wrap their way around all 3 of the preferred sites in the first 3 rounds, and now going to do it one final time here as we enter the 4th and 2nd set begins here now with another upstairs defense and a very similar lineup to accommodate as well. The Mirror is going to be added into this hold as well, alongside some more of the usual suspects like the Bandit returning for Grixer there, and the other usual assortment of defensive operators. Same flair also being shown by DarkZero, most notably in the fact that the OSA has once again made a return for Canadian, so looking to execute in similar fashion to get that shield down on the ground and hopefully open up a window of opportunity for the planter to actually put the case down.
It is a little bit more difficult with the Azami ban, so I don't envy Soniqs in this position, but I hope we see a little bit more active control or pressure at least inside of CCTV. Without Azami, it's not really possible to just have someone solo hold it on the circle desk, but have what Gio is doing right now. Have a rotate hole into 90, have him play around that hatch. He can't stay here the whole time. That's just an unfortunate reality of the Azami ban and not playing with a castle on the board. But I like what Gio's doing right here. Control it in the early round, apply some pressure, shoot some drones, and if you really have to fall back, you can fall back to 90 and hopefully get safe passage into the site. Gio will rotate out decently quick a minute into the round. We'll see what DarkZero end up doing, because instead of the previous attempt in Armory, it appears at this time they are going for that East stairs take and not trying to push things on the Armory wall.
So slower flare this time from DarkZero, and on top of that as well, going to be putting more direct pressure on the extended hold from the Soniqs because of their choice of route. Gunnar is the first to take pressure. That little bit of aggression coming in from DZs. He's dropped to about 20 HP now after the volley comes in from the office window. Going from DarkZero, unfortunately, with the capability to follow that one up, pop it into the window would be a bit too bold, although things are immediately going to get better as Cavini finishes things off against Gunnar, taking him down and opening up most of the office for a swing to come in from DZ. However, Rexon still causing a few problems with his rotations between Fountain and the interior part of Archives, but that doesn't seem to be much of an issue at all for DZ. Panba claims now a 2nd kill for DZ as he's able to take down Citizen.
Now a 3v5 for Soniqs. DarkZero have been able to win back from this man count. We have yet to see Soniqs do the same. Gio does still hold control of CCTV and can maybe acquire some long angles onto East Stairs where DarkZero are playing from. Rexon has a similar story as somebody, I believe that's Gavini, flirting with death as he peeks that East Stairs wall. Soniqs have a little bit of time, but oh, what a nade by Panbazoo. Potentially even pre-firing that run out from Gio, or maybe just trying to send something into Armory wall. Rexon has to get aggressive now with intel on his position. Him and Grixer have a lot on their plate.
Grixer hoping for a headshot there as he peeks out towards 90, but a little too premature on it, unfortunately. And Rexon under a similar amount of pressure. I had a drone swing past him just a moment prior, but is not able to figure out exactly where it went. Did get killed as far as I can tell. Rexon, in the meanwhile here, finally picks up the gun and is able to strike true, taking down one target, but is indeed just that one target. Grixer also finds a personal first here on the round. Now a 2nd as he locks in on Achieved, heading back out to the top of Metal Stairs there. Brings it down to a 1v2, but also puts himself at great peril. Down to only 1 bullet's worth of damage to take him down. On top of that, Canadian and Gavini have been given all the time in the world to set up post-plant positioning, so Grixer has set himself up for a very difficult retake now as he attempts to work himself back in towards the inside of, oh man, even this positioning of the case as well is going to be so difficult to work towards, and there we go. Just a simple lean to the left, Canadian takes him down, and the round is over as DZ control it yet again.
DarkZero rotate over, use basically the same operator lineup to do a completely different execute, and once you lose Gunnar in that initial position, it becomes a lot harder for Soniqs to claw back that defense. Not necessarily because Gunnar's playing a pivotal position or, oh, Gunnar trolled or something like that. Just Borders map where if you lose those opening duels, which Soniqs have lost 3 of the 4 so far, it's very hard to claw back some of these rounds. And with Gunnar, to talk about his position, playing far up inside of Archives. That allows Gavini to start playing a little aggressive on that east stairs wall to try and maybe take some fights with Rexen. And then also, now that they have that forward position controlled, even if they can't walk in immediately, to start poking and prodding some of the other parts of the attack or of the defense with their attack to then grab some more pressure later on. So while it's not been super flashy for DarkZero for 2 minutes of the round, that final minute so far, these attacks have been undeniably on point.
Absolutely the case. Some issues still showcasing for DarkZero in terms of being able to follow up that opening kill from time to time, as either don't seem to have the correct intel, especially on the earlier rounds here. Or remember the Soniqs is able to pull a fast one on them, establish a flank position. It pick out quite a few of them. That has led to quite a few difficulties. But as you can see from the scoreline though, overall DarkZero has still been maintaining that control and taking the large majority of rounds here. Boosted by the fact that once again they've gotten the opening kill in every single round so far, except for the first one. So really good stuff across the board on DZ, just showing us that slow, methodical play and how it can dominate, much like we've seen quite often in the past for this squad.
As you can see, our lovely observer pointing out, nobody is home so far on the Sonic, so that will change momentarily. Finally, Gunner drops down, realizes, hey, 5's on the side. Border's, I mean,
might help.
Border's a little big, but it's not that big.
We saw that one execute last week. I forget who it was, but someone walked directly into vents and just got a free plan off of it.
I think that was OXG, I believe.
Yeah.
He walked straight on in. Shout out to Dream. Nice guy. Definitely would be, if you were to make a roster of nicest guys in Rainbow Six, he'd be candidate #1.
Great fragger last week, too. At least
That's
first
true.
game.
Dream had a great debut
game to start the season off.
So a double shout out to Dream, actually. Nice guy out of game, great player in game. What's not to love? He's almost the dream player, some might say. But as we move on events, minute into the round, and DarkZero aren't changing things up too much. They'll open up an angle watching the 90 walk up the top of metal stairs, and they'll likely try to pivot for some armory control as well, because they like to give new looks, and I do appreciate that, but still applying some pressure to armory in this early round, with so much damage done already, definitely really make things that much sweeter for DarkZero, but killing Gunner by just walking into main door, I mean, that's already pretty sweet.
Yep, right there once again. Unfortunately, that main door has become a bit of a problem for quite a few defenders. That is not expecting pressure early enough, or just not having the intel to suspect that there would be some pressure coming from that angle, that portion of the round. We've seen that trip up, obviously not only the Soniqs here in this specific round with Gunnar going down early, but it's happened in quite a few of our other matches too. Geo going to be able to quickly route back over to the hatch though, and reboost Citizen for the damage that he had taken earlier on in the round as well. So one down, but at least again, they're not going to be suffering from a second player at detrimental HP.
Yeah, Citizen also backing off of Passport as well. If DarkZero wanted to, they could move to more of a vents focused plan as well. That seems to be what they might have been going for by so much main door pressure early on, but Citizen is now backed off from Passport, has pulled back into the site. Armory with a minute left is still firmly in the hands of the defense, but with nobody pressuring for that south stair or that south angle on the defense, DarkZero might have what they need to push in through main door and go to vents. As long as they have the angles with Panbazoo watching the flank, this could be round 5 for DarkZero.
Their drones have already been able to penetrate deep into the site as well, so they know for a fact that nobody's really home for the most part, save for 1 or 2 players on the back end of it, and of course the upstairs roam itself. Rexen so far holding the line alongside Geo 2, preventing the additional pressure from working its way in, but the plant goes down regardless in that same position due to the front door walk-in. Nicely played from DZ, but now they've got to deal with some of this utility coming back out at them as well here. Both Nitros go off, but only one of them sings. MJR able to respond to Grixer's position and take him down outright just after he'd thrown that Nitro out from one of the upstairs windows. Gavini with some good composure here, catches the jump from Geo and is able to knock him down too, putting the defenders down. Only 2 on this retake. Rexen once again making the big impact here as he retakes control of the immediate area surrounding the diffuser, but he still has pressure on the main door. He's gonna push it though, and he picks up a 3rd kill in the round by doing so. Still has some support from up on top, but now the drop down has occurred actually. Gavini trying to shut this one down on his own. He's not able to locate Rexen in the midst of the counter defuse. The Soniqs sneak it off, and they're able to steal the round right out of the hands of DZ.
I guess my boy was out of AK-12 ammo. I guess switching to your secondary is often faster than reloading. Unfortunately here, Gavini a little too slow on the draw to save round number 5. I mean, DZ still have the lead, thankfully. You can see Gavini's in good spirits about it. Drinks his water bottle, pretend like nothing happened. Just move on to the next one. You get yourself an even happen.
He needs to whistle a little bit there, too. That really fit the mood right now.
Like, whoa, guys. Can you believe that?
Yeah, see, that was crazy. What happened there?
Got the counter defuse. I mean, could have thought. I mean, it happens right there. Definitely unlucky. DarkZero again going for the bare minimum control they needed. Panbazoo realizes that fence is free, or realizes that the whole side is free, to be perfectly frank with you. Moves on in, and DarkZero able to get that bomb down, but really got to hand it to Soniqs playing in that post plant, because DZ had some very hard positions to deal with through an NJ JR up on the van, Canadian all the way outside of main door. But Rexen, he takes the fights one-on-one as he needs to, does not waste any time getting into position, and that's why Rexen is one of the best players on the Soniqs. Somebody who does not stall for time and can think quick on their feet and take the fights that he needs to and win them. Just very well played post plan from the individual players on the Soniqs.
That does show us as well kind of the other side of the coin when you do try to force the issue without clearing the upstairs hold. We talked about that earlier on in the last round, how OXG pulled that off last week and had quite a bit of success doing so actually, but now we see DarkZero do it. Unfortunately, things just don't really work out, in part because of the instability that was coming from those roaming players upstairs that was never dealt with before the plan had gone down.
So we'll see if DarkZero maybe decide in the final round of the attack. It would certainly be the only time they would employ the strategy. Maybe they will go for that full clear, really try to force the defense back instead of maybe it happening just by coincidence, just incidentally. Maybe they will try to fully clear them out with utility, with positioning, or if they'll go with the plan that so far has got them 3 rounds on attack and potentially 4 if Gavini was able to be a little better with the pistol accuracy. We see Pambazoo working into the same position he did before, lurking inside a Passport. Very nice position to control. You establish some early presence inside of Courtyard, and with Pambazoo playing here, I'd imagine DarkZero are looking in the late round to push from that same spot, which is what they wanted to do on the previous Teller's attack.
Things moving quite slowly because of that overall strategy from DZ, such as the Passport push right now. Upstairs roam is well on its way, though, because they've already cleared out the inside of CCTV and are just setting up some angles on 90 in case Soniqs attempt to get a little bit more aggressive from the inside of their office hold. Not going to see that, though. They are, once again, locking themselves in that bunker. They have the positioning, so they absolutely want to use it, even though they, once again, have not always come out with the best of results from it. It still oftentimes is the best way to proceed here. Rexen, in the meanwhile, of course, has the player on the inside of Passport somewhat contained for the time being, and there's some additional crossfire that could come from Citizen, as we just noted here too. We saw soft panels going into Passport itself. Not the greatest amount of intel as to where exactly that member of DZ is executing from, and we've got some activity going on upstairs too, as DZ, with that control of CCTV, are going to begin the pinch on Office.
Ooh, but Gavini, the first one down. Grixer will fall off as a result. Oh, so many players from DarkZero fall off the board in a matter of seconds. In a blink of an eye, DarkZero's chances of gaining a lead on this half have completely vanished into thin air. Achieve the only one left from this ill-fated attack. Does spot one. He'll be spotted by the alibi, but that will just reveal the Soniqs. Oh, the player who just killed Geo? Well, we know exactly where he is now. He's made his way onto the top floor, and Soniqs with only 45 seconds left. I mean, you want to get that 3-3 half. You don't want to give Achieve to potentially biblical history-making, at least, well, history for the stage so far, 1v5. So likely just play together on the site, make sure they don't have a peek.
Big props once again for Soniqs for being able to control the situation, especially upstairs. Achieve, though, still might make a bid for this clutch as he finds one more. It'll be a 1v4, actually 1v5, I believe, if he's able to pull it off completely outright. 2 targets already knocked out. Let's make it 3, but okay. Thankfully, he's got some team support this time as that third player ends up going down. A little LOL in the chat as well. As he did get a little hairy there for a second until finally we saw that bait trade come in to finally shut down the clutch attempt. A very valid attempt coming in from Achieve to bring it down to, I believe, just 2 players left before he was finally dealt with.
It was a little worrying, but Soniqs got the W, and at the end of the day, that's what matters. So at the end of the day, a 3-3 half for both teams. SQ able to win that first Teller's attack, will win both Teller's defenses through very different means. One by just stopping DZ's execute as they went in for the plant. The other one killing them at the beginning of the round. Or, well, at least at the beginning of the round between the two teams. Because DarkZero spent about 45 seconds getting in. Then once the real round began, Soniqs completely shut them down. They also got the defuse on Vents. We don't need to talk about that. We all remember it. So overall, a decent half between these two teams. What you'd hope for a 3-3 half. Not something that was a little weird that you'd have to then explain how it's a 3-3 half, but it's not actually a 3-3 half. As DarkZero moved to their defenses and Border tending, well, it kind of shifts back and forth, whether it's attacker-sided or defender-sided. But I would even say, let's see if DarkZero win this round or Soniqs win this round. Let's just see how this round plays out before we make any predictions.
DarkZero going to go for not necessarily the expected site to start things out, but still a relatively safe choice as far as the defense is concerned. Just wanting to be able to give their defenders a little bit more capability to spread out and have free roam capabilities over the maps. They'll go downstairs instead. Things don't go too well on that extension upstairs. They can just fall back through the vents. hatch itself to be able to keep themselves safe in a late round hold here. So let's see how that strategy plays out from the Sonics. Once again, gaining most of their own prowess in that previous half by waiting for DarkZero to commit themselves to the inside and using that chaos, of course, to get one above DarkZero, whether it's pulling off a flank or just an unexpected swing. Something along that nature is how they were often able to bring themselves back into those rounds when DZ was quite often picking up the opening kill and kind of dictating the pace of play.
Two players inside of Customs right now. We've got Canadian on the pulse, where you'd expect, but Gavini aiding him on the Capcan, as Canadian's almost like Intel gathering Clash when he's got his gadget. No gun up, can't shoot back. Somebody's got to make sure that he's not just completely getting decimated, though definitely does not offer the same protection as Clash, which is why Gavini very much needs to be in this position. Canadian should not be left alone on an island. Might just spot the player moving quickly into jail, as Rexon on the buck with a barricade in his way cannot just immediately move in and secure control of this western part of the map, but Soniqs instead have just moved on in. Remember how we talking about that quick OXG plant and event? Well, somebody was taking notes, and I'm not just talking about Soniqs. NJR shuts that down very quickly, but it's still DarkZero in the 2v4.
DarkZero prevents disaster and is able to avert that direct plant. Big issue now for the Sonics, but thankfully it's going to turn into a relatively small issue when everything is said and done. The trade still heavily favoring them. Obviously, with it being down to a 4v1, everything falls to achieve to this point. Gets the yellow ping, but it's a little bit too late on the intel, unfortunately, at least the follow-up for that intel. We'll try to chuck the nitro up, but it misses by a long shot. Gunner now reattempting the plant. This one should go off without too much of an issue, though here comes Chief with the potential movement. Now he's completely missed the player on metal stairs, though, so Grixer gets away with that one. And the Sonics will shut down their first round on the attack.
Yeah, low times, too, from Grixer. Got to be careful you don't do it 3 times. We'll start kind of killing the bit at that point. It'll lose its luster. But this has a game so far that's been very much dictated by the attacks. The defense has their setup. Neither team has been getting too particularly in the face of the attack. There's been some monumental frag fest on the defense. It's been when the attack, as in round number 6, started pushing into their setup. And that round was very similar. We see SQ make the same recognition that we talked about OXG did last week. They realize that Vents is free. They're able to hold the angles they need to, put just some very loose pressure inside a passport, some very loose control on the top floor, and then just move it for a very quick plant, take the defense off guard. Job done. Bob's your uncle. You've got the round. Excellent call by Soniqs. Excellent read. And for DarkZero, only thing we can hope for is that watch the side a little bit more.
Thankfully, not going to have to worry about any, hopefully not worry about any direct plant angle coming in this time. The Sonics really want to get spicy. They could, of course, try the window hop in for this one, but
they don't have the lineup for it.
Yeah, not going to be working too well for that one.
Unless a lot of things change really quickly.
10 seconds remaining.
Not going to end up seeing that happen, though. Even though we do have a few repicks, it's just to the Parava as well as the Buck and the Astronaut. A little bit more soft reach into this one, so not going to be seeing that direct play come through. Expect a much more normal execute to come out for the Sonics this time, as they will have to clear the upstairs positions from DZ. As you can see them setting up for that now. They're going to hunker down the inside of the Fountain as well as Archives area, as we've oftentimes seen the Sonics do on their own Teller's hold.
Pamazoo playing aggressively inside of CCTV, achieved aiding him in break room. Like to see this level of control, but because it is that Teller's bathroom defense, DarkZero likely can't commit to this for the entire round. That would very much spread the defense too thin. Pamazoo will likely have to rotate back later on, join the defense inside of Archives, while maybe the rest will retreat back downstairs. And Sonics are also looking to begin their attack on this east side. There are a lot of castle barricades. This was an operator that Sonics did not bring on their Teller's bathroom defenses. This will make things a little bit more problematic for Sonics as they move in through the map. They'll have to use some of that utility to destroy the castle barricades. The east stairs push will at least be delayed for about 5 to 10 seconds, but maybe not enough to matter in the grand scheme of things. But it does indicate that DarkZero are placing a lot more utility on this part of the map that Sonics were, and it also allows a lot more rotations, such as with that castle barricade inside of 90 that you just saw. That'll make things easier for the CCTV and break players to rotate back to Office and Archives.
Things continuing to evolve a little bit slowly this time. Both teams exercising a little bit more restraint, most notably for the Sonics. Like a slower path as they don't have that direct access point as we've seen on the previous site. Away from that, though, still able to isolate out a few different members of DZ, but DZ continues to hold the line here, not giving up any huge amount of positioning just yet, although we are more than likely going to see the upstairs office hold give way sooner rather than later, as it's really just fallen all to NJR to continue to maintain this with just soft breaches supporting him. So it's all a matter of time for him. When does he feel he's wasted out enough of the bank to fall back and allow Sonics to use the rest of that remaining time to actually execute into the site? Of course, we still have the players over here inside a break room too, so there's actually a bit more complexity to this clear than I was initially expecting, and even worse, members of DZ, or rather the Sonics, walking directly into that setup, none the wiser to the more aggressively set up players on the defensive end of it.
Rexen caught lurking across the property line, unfortunately. HOA had to get on that one real quick, and JR shuts it down. But now Geo, once again, going for the plant. Where's the coverage? Where's the people? There's Canadian with the C4. All good. Don't worry about it, John.
Even better again now. Once again, Case is down, locked in the site. There's no easy way for the Soniqs to get that back. However, apparently it's easy for them to frag their way into it. Grixer with one, Gunnar grabs two. Where is the defensive setup now all of a sudden? The utility perfectly positioned to deny that lone solo plant, but it seems like they let their guard down completely afterwards. And Panba, what just happened? Rexy even goes OMG in the chat because he should not be alive right now. Gunnar at least should not be alive right now. Canadian suddenly left alone on the inside of the bathroom. He cannot really do much to stop this plant without risking his own life. He's gonna do so anyway, and as such, Rexen walks forward, picks up the last kill, and it's a relatively easy one for the Soniqs, all things considered.
We don't have time to unpack all of that.
It's quite a bit to unpack too, unfortunately.
There's a lot there. 5-3 now, Soniqs. Pambazoo, unfortunately, goes in for the one, goes in for the second. Neither works. He ends up dying on the retake. Unlucky. But what we should focus on is SQ's positioning. That's what we should focus on, because as you pointed out, Geo goes in for a plant, and I'm sitting here like, oh my god, another ninja plant. Oh no. But then Canadian C4s seems like it's all done. And then I'm like, oh no, DZ won the round. And then SQ, because DarkZero now rotating, they're going to focus on that east part of the map. SQ say, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's rapidly move, rapidly rotate, take control of that part of the map. It's the same philosophy that got them that retake all the way back on Vents. The best part about these players, when SQ are at their best, is not when they're overthinking things, not when they're trying to be a team like DarkZero, SSG. It's when these players who are so mechanically gifted, whose game sense is so strong, are just allowed to make plays in a split second, well, thinking a little bit, but then acting a lot. That's what got them that defense all the way back on Vents, and it's what got them that 5-3 lead and what got them that round we just saw on Tellers.
All right, so DZ back into the heat of things now that you take somewhat of an expected time out, given how loopy things have gotten for them over the past 2 rounds, just on the fundamental side. So need to reset the mental real quick here alongside refocusing their strategy. They're going to call for that pause and end up back on the vent site. When they initially started this half out on, once again, were unable to actually find success in defending it because of the walk-in plant from the Soniqs there. We'll see if they're able to attempt something like that again, or if the Soniqs will go for a more traditional clear in hopes of taking more solid control this time to lock in the round before they get that plant.
Now I'm just looking at if Soniqs can win this round. If they can get match point, they'll be beating a lot of the allegations that have been hurled against them over the past few days. Oh.
And again, like, we know the composure's there for DarkZero. Like, they're having great success in the early round. They picked up the opening kill going into the second half most of the rounds as well. So they seem to have good composure for that earlier, but just something falls by the wayside, either informationally or strategically. Once we get to that mid round, it's kind of the wild card capability from the Soniqs that's constantly throwing DZ off.
And it's nice to see Rexen show up as well, who's been, going into the day, the second lowest rated player on SQ, now 11-5, not having the most success in the early round, which is what he's known for, but still putting up a really good performance in the server, the top rated player so far. Gunnar also, especially in the mid round, just 1 round to go, we're getting a double kill to start bringing that back. We're seeing a lot of really good individual performances from SQ, which over the past few games, we've seen Gunnar show up, maybe Grixer show up, but it's not been a lot. Unfortunately here, Citizen, a player who, as Demo pointed out earlier, has definitely left a lot to be desired. He'll be the first taken off the board in this round. 1 set of nades gone. You still have Gunnar's 1 remaining grenade in pocket, but as I mentioned earlier, the opening kills on border can be very problematic, because now Soniqs, who have not secured a lot of map control, now have to go into either securing CCTV or securing office and archives, down a man. And so while CCTV might be free for the moment, once maybe Panbazoo rotates out, how do you then push into the bulk of the defense when you're down a man?
Soniqs playing with a lot of intel at this minute-and-a-half marker too. If you've noticed what the Bravo's been able to acquire, it's already been able to steal, I believe it was a Valkyrie camera. Yeah, we've got Achieved on it right now. So there was a Valkyrie cam stolen, I believe, over towards jail. And then, of course, as we just saw on camera, there was this bulletproof that our observer is showing right now as well on the inside of the actual site. So there's quite a bit of capability for the Soniqs, as you're seeing now, for them to be able to execute in through Passport, then move themselves deeper into the actual site off of that intel. Great usage of that new operator here. We just have to see if it all comes to blows now when they get themselves into the site itself, as they don't have a lot of actual player intel just yet, because DZ is holding themselves very far back in terms of their own personal setup right now.
Somebody needs to deal with NJR on this angle. Not only is he still watching the exit from Visa, he still can shut down that lane on bottom metal. A second for NJR now, as Grixer pushes into the site. Him and Geo, the only duo left, make that a 1v5. Geo has the diffuser, but not a hope in the world at clutching this one. There's only 39 seconds left. All of DarkZero remain in their positions. They have secured the vertical control. They still have a hold on the horizontal, and Geo has decided to stake his fate. I was gonna say on vent window. Now it might be something else.
Geo backing up. Could be once again having his teammates feed him a little bit more drip intel because they have a few of those stolen pieces of utility, I imagine, camera specifically, deeper into the site. But ultimately, this is probably going to get down to a slight tack pause here for Geo and the rest of the Soniqs, just giving him a few seconds to stand back, and it's not even looking like he's going to make a bid for it, but everything is said and done. So yeah, just giving the IGL a little bit more time to chat about what specifically went wrong in that round. They don't have to necessarily waste the pause for, although they might chain this together into that pause as well. DZ obviously ultimately wins this one as the timer runs down.
First defensive round for DarkZero on the board as well, and a very dominant one throughout. Didn't see a lot of the mid-round adaptation from Soniqs, mostly because there wasn't really a mid-round that they ever got to adapt, unfortunately. DarkZero had their setup. They were never really pressured all that much. As you saw, Pamazu never even really rotated out of CCTV. They didn't feel the pressure or feel the need or the exigency to rotate out of there and then move back towards the site. The moment Soniqs tried to collide into it, they immediately fell, and that's part of the problem with losing Citizen early. You gotta cobble something together, and maybe you can play the trades, but if the gunfights don't go your way, and in that round, as we saw, not a single gunfight went their way, DarkZero able to claw it back. But Soniqs still have that one-round lead. They will drop Vents, which is the round they won initially, but now we'll go to Armory, which so far, I believe, John, has not been played by DarkZero.
Yep, this will be the first time they go to it, as they attempted the Vents site twice, and obviously went to Tellers back in the second round for this half, so they'll be making a trip upstairs for the first time, and we'll see how it goes for them. Soniqs as well may have just been feeling a little bit of a false sense of security in their ability to push based off of the Brava intel they stole in the mid round on that previous round. From the drone count, they only actually used about half of their drones before going for the execute there, so a good possibility they might have just felt that it was a little bit more open on the site than it actually was, and that could be a good part of the reason why things fell apart pretty quickly once they set foot into the site. And that's credit once again to DarkZero's setup for being able to mask things so nicely until NJR, of course, comes alive on that East main kill to start it off.
Hopefully for Soniqs here, see them start to apply a little bit more decisive pressure in that early round, as both teams have definitely had a quiet early round for about the first 45 seconds to a minute. And with Soniqs and the mechanical skill and the caliber of player that they have on their roster, I want them to see whether they take CCTV, whether they take East Stairs. I want to see them apply a little bit more pressure and aggression quickly into the round. Because we see Panmazu's feeling it. We see Panmazu wants to get into the fray. He sees that rappel on the building and he's saying, maybe this is my freebie, maybe this is my one. And indeed it is, because the aggression and the risk pays off. He's killed the hard breacher now. Ace off the board. What else does SQ have to open up these walls? Not a damn thing.
No follow-up there, so gonna have to find another way to force their way into the site, whether that'll be a spread out from East Main, trying to capture as much territory as possible from there, or another strategy. We'll still have to wait and see. Soniqs setting up a lot around CCTV right now to at least steal away the Oryx's position. But as he mentioned, already one kill being taken by Panba in the process of this setup here. Could very well get away with another one, but the nade pressure starting to come in from down below. Already knocked out a little under half of his HP on the first nade. Second one way off point, though, at least in terms of where it's currently being thrown, and yep, throwing it underneath of the window. Does allow for a little bit more security on the cross more than anything else here, so this may be a later play. However, once again, the impact being made now by NJR, who finds a second pickup for DZ. This one does not go unresponded to, though. There's a different fight that happens, and Grixer is able to knock out Canadian from that one, eliminating the pulse intel that was coming in from down below, and now Citizen evens the numbers back out by finally grabbing Achieved.
All right, we've taken down some of those lurkers, taken down two of the C4s that DarkZero had. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we've got something here that maybe we can work with. DarkZero are solid in the site. They are not moving from this unless some player sees an opportunity to flank out and then takes it. The east side is a little bit empty right now from Soniqs, so if Panmazu or NJR maybe wants to rotate over in the late round, once Soniqs go for their execute, that might be a part of the map they could make something work from. Cut off that angle inside of 90, flank up by metal, and make something work. Ooh, but a nade from Grixer. He sticks with it, cuts down Panmazu. Now, even if DarkZero go for that flank and Gavini does get that kill, now Soniqs might have something more decisive as they've cut down the defenders to one on each site.
Sonic continuing to wait for an opportunity to work their way back in, but they don't have much time left in the pool here. 15 seconds to go. Citizen takes the first steps forward in the small office here. Has that teammate support ready to go, but they want to open up an alternate path instead by breaching through on the soft side of things so they can move together. Citizen taking far too much damage on the way in, and you can see the same thing for Grixer as DZ shut it down. Far too obvious of a play working itself in from the west side. As a result of that, it's another round on the board for DZ to bring this one back.
Gotta hand it to Gavini there. Getting that kill with only 5 people on the board, combined between 2 teams, made it a lot harder for Soniqs to push on in. They were able to push through Armory Wall, and maybe if the player in Sandwich got a little more aggressive, they could play the trade and play that to a 1v1. But Gavini making that kill nullified the one big advantage Soniqs had going into those final seconds of the round. And then at that point, it was all a matter of who's peaking, who's not peaking between DarkZero and Soniqs. And the defense doesn't peak to the degree you want it to. It's going to be very difficult for the attack to win. But again, to go back to what I said at the beginning of the round, Soniqs, throughout this league so far, in every single play day, it seems no matter the map, the heart and the grit that this team had doesn't seem to be there to the same degree that it was. They're able to claw a lot of rounds together, and they are playing a very close game. And I want to acknowledge that it's still 5-5 against definitely one of the better teams in the league right now after Soniqs have struggled to really pull some wins together, pull some convincing games together. I want to acknowledge that, and I want to validate that. But Soniqs, they're letting teams, DZ in this case, get very aggressive on them, take very aggressive fights inside of CCTV, and they struggle to answer it in the early round. Then they make a good adaptation in the mid-round, but because they're going down into these deficits, whether it be against Beast Coast last week or DZ today, it's making the teams they're going against a lot easier when the type of players that are on this roster, Rexen, Grixer, Gunner, Citizen, for Christ's sakes, these games, even if they're losing them, it feels like they should be a little bit more of an active participant.
Well, the Soniqs will try to find a way back into the lead here now as they have been tied up. And DZ as well, starting to look better and better as the rounds go by, presenting issues for the Soniqs. So once again, they continue to thrive in the more chaotic situations with some of the defensive end of it, while struggling to keep that same composure on the attack as DZ seems to control the large majority of the pacing so far for these defensive rounds. However, as we've already seen, the first 2 ending up in the hands of the Soniqs when everything is said and done. So still able to maintain initial control, but they need to exercise that a bit further here by being first onto the board with that map and match point at 6. They can guarantee themselves at least the 1 point from this game. Otherwise, DZ, having set themselves up over the past 2 and looking quite dominant inside of them, could be on a run to end this one 7-5 outright.
And for DZ as well, this will be a big recovery from their dominant loss to OXG last week. They're able to get up a convincing win, even well, very close win over the Soniqs, but a win nonetheless in regulation. That'll not only make that loss very much reduce in perspective, and also get themselves a nice clean 3 points after today's series. The same duo that we've seen inside of CCTV and Break remains. Pambazoo and Achieved. The former in CCTV, the latter playing over by Break, will remain. This is where things could change for Soniqs. We see someone at the CCTV door waiting to push in. Do they know about Achieved? Is Gunner just going to push in? Is he playing passively on the angle? But at least we see Soniqs trying to deal with this problem very early on and not letting it fester. That's what I like to see.
Trying to isolate out those positions on the inside of CCTV now, but once again, no pressure follow-through has worked out just yet, and ultimately it seems like they're backing away from that, giving the respect over to DZ, maybe recentering the majority of their own player base at a different part of the map, as we can see a bit more pressure building up through East Main, but obviously quite a bit of defensive prowess has been centered for DarkZero there as well, between the 2+ players that are going to be defending the East Main doorway, and as well, the easy rotates that could work their way over towards Archives if Citizen decides to pressure in from his perspective.
And JR, there we go, spots Geo again. Geo has been a fiend for these opening duels going into today. 0-5 on the day, and now he's added 2 to that roster, unfortunately. And JR, definitely a fiend for opening kills as well. A 2K in round 11. Both Gunner and Geo now fall off the board. It's going to fall to the 3 biggest playmakers on the Soniqs to bring this one back and maybe, just maybe, secure a match point if they can.
Still a minute to go, and in fact, that's going to be almost every single drone now used up by the Sonic side. The one we just saw on camera is the last one they have in the arsenal right now. So really scrapping for intel here, considering they haven't even made the transition downstairs yet. But thankfully, they're going to find solid footing in the form of frags. Rexen picks up a kill against Achieved here. Another one potentially going to be found by Grixer as he just bullies his way to the inside of the site. Rest of his team rushing to join him, but this is a sudden play, so they're not necessarily ready to group up with their teammate that has suddenly taken full control of of the site. Gavini's going to spot at least part of this rotate downstairs and execute upon it, as he's able to find Citizen and now set himself up to stop the push into Passport as well if he spots it in time. Grixer, though, still in the midst of Tellers itself, but the timing works out for him as he spots out Grixer first on the rotate. Rexen is all that remains now inside of the 1v3, and his entrance is prompted quite obviously by the beepers, so DZ shut that one down as well to secure round 6 first.
It's again another mid-round where Soniqs comes so close to success, where Grixer or Rexen, but Grixer in this case is able to find his way into the site and hollow it out from the inside, while Rexen is also able to get a kill on East Stairs. This has been successful for Soniqs multiple times throughout this map, and in this round, they came very close to success. But again, they are suffering so much in the early round, only winning, if I'm correct, they won 2 opening duels in the last round of the attack, or last round of their defense, first round of the attack, able to win one in the early round as well, but since then, it is all coming up DarkZero in these early rounds. So your mid-round can be great, and trust me, it's great as an understatement for what Soniqs can achieve when you let Grixer just move into the site like we just saw. But DZ are still holding on to this early round, and it is making the difference, and even though it's close, it is inching them closer and closer to victory, whereas now they are 1 round away from getting these 3 points.
Soniqs have tried to force the issue here 2 times on the Vents plant, as we've gone back to this one already now in those previous 2 attempts, and it's been a 1-1 record for both tries. The first one ending up in their palms, but DarkZero responded in kind on the retry later on in the half and was able to take it for themselves. This is the first time DarkZero are going to return to a successful site on this defensive end, and we're going to have to see if the Soniqs will fall back on a more traditional execute strategy, once again relying upon clearing out those extensions, which they've struggled to do so far, or are they going to try to force the issue, as we've seen in the previous 2 attempts, and just go right for a plant somewhere inside events.
If they do find that opportunity and they force the issue, even if it's luck, just 1 round, and they'll be able to secure overtime. Soniqs can surely do that. They are surely a team skilled enough to get that 1 round. An adjustment I also want to point out, Gunnar is now going to the Nook. He's been playing operators like Sledge, like Nomad. He's the 2nd support for SQ, and now he's moved to that Nook! And on round 12, finally, somebody domes Panbazoo in CCTV, and that forefront position of DarkZero's defense is gone. A Canadian will rotate into that spot, John, and he will retake that position, but now SQ have an opening advantage that they have lacked for the majority of this game.
First time in 5 rounds, in fact, that Sonic's going to find that opening kill. No response to it immediately, although we are going to see a 1-1 trade go off. The rappel as well will net them even another one as Gavini gets unlucky, just barely in the vision of Geo there. Geo, strong as he is, captures it with that slight opportunity, knocks down another member of DZ. Suddenly, the entire defense falls to just 2 players, achieved in Canadian, still with over half the round to play out as well. The Soniqs only down 1 in the form of Gunnar via that opening trade as the action started there.
An avalanche for Soniqs in the first minute of round 12. Canadians spotted inside of the site, and SQ are looking to rotate for this plant inside events. Canadian is pre-placed to C4, likely have a black guy on that position. Achieved has a C4 in his pocket as well. If SQ go for the plant, Achieved might be off the site, so we're looking to Canadian, but they still could deny this plant with secondary utility. But Achieved, he still has pressure on that top floor. Only 1 inside of Armory. SQ have plenty of time to drone, but if Achieved can retake this, it could still be regulation for DZ.
Defender is exposed.
Retake coming back in here now for Achieved. He's not going to be able to stop the plant outright from going down, and he's got to watch out for the other player trying to lurk back in from Archive side. Won't spot it, so Rexen gets a clean take of upstairs. This is now solid post-plant positioning established, and overtime triggered by the attacking side as members of the Soniqs bring it back from the brink and trigger 3 additional rounds to find the true winner in this match.
Excellent early on, just beautiful play early on from the Soniqs, able to finally find an angle on Panbazoo, take him down, and that forces DZ onto the back foot, of course, but also to rotate their positions, to start moving players around, readjusting how they were going to play this. And that is finally what Soniqs have needed to get a very decisive win on their attack. They're able to get a very sneaky plant early on inside events, able to make it work all the way back at the beginning of the attack, or at least almost get a plant down, but still win the round as a result. But since then, it's been Oh, a rotation in the mid-round. Oh, we came close, but not quite enough. Now, finally, after round 12, we have an attack that looked excellent, and they can go back to their defenses. They've seen what DarkZero have to offer. It's a 3-3 half between both teams. Neither has the advantage of one side or the other. But Soniqs know what DarkZero do. They know they don't try to take control of the whole map. If they're able to read into where DarkZero are playing and where they want to take control of, rotate those players and rotate a lot of players over there and just completely stop them in that one little part of the map.
Soniqs wound up with a good chance to close this one down too, at least as far as the first round is concerned, as they return to a site they played 2 times during regulation and won at both of the attempts. So going to be looking to make that 3 for 3 now as they move into overtime. But DarkZero, of course, has had their own opportunities to adjust to this one, and they're going to hopefully recognize their mistakes from those previous 2 attempts now and be able to recenter themselves, bringing a little bit of a different flair into the fold. Actually, it's pretty similar now that I'm getting a better look at things to try and execute into this one. The Nook is going to be brought back into it for Panda, but unfortunately already losing 1 player in the opening seconds of the round. It's Gunnar that strikes first here and knocks out NJR before he even gets close to the building.
Gunnar not letting his role on the Echo define what he can do in the first 45 seconds. It's not a hard breacher off the board, but it's still one of the best players in the league at the moment, one of the best players on DarkZero. The Pamazoo can't be counted out. This Nook has been hit or miss for a good part of the game, but they have intel on Citizen, and he looks the wrong way. 4-4 now in man count between DarkZero and Soniqs, and they've acquired control of Vents, which is directly next to Tellers and Bathroom. A very vital piece of control held for DarkZero, but there's still no control established on the top floor. It's very useful, and they'll likely be able to keep it for the remainder of the round, but they still need either to take out a player or apply some pressure on this top floor before they can start moving in the courtyard.
Geo has made sure that things are doubly reinforced here on the inside of this extension as well, with the Electric Claws reinforcing the descent through the hatch as well as the main wall coming from the top of the metal stairs into Fountain there. Will not really leave an open access point for DarkZero, as they don't have a capability to work past that. So instead, they work their way down on the first floor instead, and are going to attempt to go for a little bit of pressure on East Main.
Ooh, 1 problem, and it's only compounded by Rexen getting that kill. 3 drones left for DarkZero and a minute 20 to go. Regaining this man advantage, especially if it's on the top floor, is going to be a lot more problematic, and right now, that's where Pamazoo and Achieved are pushing from.
Panda continues to work his way forward here, looking for an angle to wing this nade in and hopefully get a little bit of damage onto the setup on the inside of Office, but won't be able to find it so easily just yet. Goes a little bit too deep, so no real damage connecting onto the Soniqs. Panda tries to force the issue, but there's a pre-fire angle set up against him, so he forced right back. Now a little bit lower HP as well here. 53 seconds to go. Grixer ready for the re-challenge from Panda, shuts him down, brings the attack down to only 2, as Canadian sneaks up over by Lobby and has a direct access point now through either of the Teller's windows, but doesn't necessarily have the confidence to go for it when you consider the crosses that are still established by Rexen and quite a few of the other members on the Soniqs downstairs. You're going to have Canadians set up for hard breach here too, just to try and open up a little bit more of a difficult angle for the defenders to work through on their own POV, but still 2 kills needed for each of these attackers now if they want to make this play a success, and on top of that, still need to find some time to get the plant down onto the ground as well. There's the first one for Canadian, but unfortunately, he's lost Achieved on the trade. He goes down and is confirmed, leaving Canadian alone now inside of a 1v3. Doesn't even catch the other players still hiding on the inside of the vent side as well. So it'll get shut down, and the Soniqs will claim the opening round of overtime here, walking a 3 for 3 record on this site as well.
A beautiful attack followed by a beautiful defense. If Soniqs can just accomplish the hat trick, they'll win this game 8-6, which it seemed when DZ were up 6-5 was very possible, but still slightly slanted towards DarkZero, who will now have to win 2 rounds in a row if they want to secure not 3 like we thought earlier, but 2 points instead. If they lose, of course, only getting 1 singular point. Points are still nice. It's not 0, but only 1. For the performance both these teams are putting up, maybe some might say they deserve more, but it's all they'll come away with. Armory will be the site DarkZero go to for their 1 singular defense in overtime. Armory by SQ, or no, by DZ, excuse me. Armory by DZ was not their favorite site to go to. Definitely lean more towards Vents, definitely lean more towards Tellers, and maybe trying to catch them off guard, because this is the one site DarkZero did not lose at all, even though they only played it 1 singular time. So for DarkZero, this is likely what they're gambling on to be the main course of action. Also bringing the castle, something we've not seen, at least on Armory, many of these teams do. We saw DarkZero do it for Teller's Bathroom, but for Armory, We didn't see that.
Interesting the way they'll set this up as well, creating basically a tunnel, not only through East Main, but through the inside of Break Room also there, giving them that greater capability to rotate through it. So we'll have to see what this potentially leads to in terms of play potential for DZ once the Soniqs try to pressure those portions of the map.
Well, for Soniqs, I know what they have planned. You know what they have planned?
What's that?
We got a Ying, we got a Glaz, we have a Finka, we have a Montaigne.
This is going to be rough for DZ to potentially fend off if they all get in position.
Well, this is what teams will do. It's the one attack Soniqs have. They are on match point. It's a gamble, but if you lose, you have one more round to bring things back. Try to be decisive, and what this lineup indicates is a very quick, sudden plant inside of Archives. You all have seen it before. The Candelas go out, the Glaz holds an angle, the Monty goes on in, and if he's not planting, someone behind him will. That is what Soniqs are gambling. What will likely be the most impressive victory for them so far in the NAL, just based on the team they're playing against. That is what they're aiming for here in round 14.
Drones have started to flood in towards Archives to figure out if it is as open as it needs to be for them to attempt the dump and the follow-up plant through it. There is still going to be one element of this that may have not been properly checked for, and that'll be the player in the back corner of Armory portion of this one, but there you go. You called it perfectly. The Candela is being dumped back in. We see the Valkyrie trying to push her own way forward to attempt to stop this play, but instead it goes the other direction. Gunnar pushes right through the smokes himself and claims not just one, but 2 kills. Let's make it 3 as well. A Chief cannot contain it, so it's the Sonic shutting everything down. Gavini will get away with 1 exchange on the Nitro, but he is also already down for the count also here, leaving everything down to Panba. Now he makes a light flank in through East Main. They haven't necessarily spotted this outright. And even more so, the Soniqs, believe it or not, actually haven't gotten the plant just yet, but it's not going to matter, as regardless, the Soniqs have the counter angle to shut it all down when he completes the wrap, and they are very, very happy about the way they've won that one. The Soniqs take control here now, 8-6, as they're going to be able to